the White House, President Eisenhower signs the proclamation that makes Alaska's entry into the Union official, nearly 92 years after Lincoln's Secretary of State bought the territory from the Russian Tsar for $7 million.
I just want to give a shout out before the show starts to all the sponsors, all the local businesses that have been coming through to help us out and get this thing started. Thank you to you guys.
Total Truck Accessory Center. Go check them out at 7700 Homer Drive. They're your one-stop shop for canopies, spray-in bed liners, LED light bars, and more. Total Truck.
TheTreehouseAK.com. Located at 341 Boniface Parkway. They're your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bartender today what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance. Cutting lawns, but not cutting quality. Hit them up at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also got a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out, doubleshovelcider.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located across from the 4th Avenue Theater in front of the historical building. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. Get yourself a legit reindeer dog.
Tailored Restoration, helping Alaskans restore their dreams. Voted #1 in the state since 1972. Water restoration, fire restoration, remodeling, cleaning, anything that you have to do with your home, inside and outside, give those guys a call or check out tailoredrestoration.com. What's up, boys?
What's up, Daniel?
What up?
Brando, today we have a special guest with us, Jack Kueber.
How's it going? Thanks for having me.
Thanks for coming by. A little background on Jack?
Yeah, Jake's one of our really good homies. He's my hunting partner, and kind of like save me if I run into the wrong situation, tracks me on my in-reach. He was a huge part of getting Double Shovel off the ground, just putting in the hours and that sweat equity and killing it. And,
ex-military, correct?
Yeah, I was in the Marine Corps for a little while.
How many years?
4.
Nice. What's some places you went to?
Pretty much all over the Asias, a little bit of the Middle East. Japan, Thailand, Cambodia, Korea, India. Just kind of bounced all over the area there.
Any standout memories?
Just the guys I was with pretty much are the best part of all of it, right? You're always around those guys, and they become family members, and the experiences you build with those guys is kind of something that holds on to you for your whole life. I still talk to all of them today, and just good group of guys. Pretty much is the biggest standout, and then the experiences are something you kind of hold on to, and you kind of just keep to yourself as well.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Was it something that you felt like you always thought you would do, or did you feel like that was your only option to join the military, or you come from like a military family? What's the background there?
Yeah, so my dad was like in service of the country pretty much his whole life, between Vietnam, being a sheriff, going into the government as Border Patrol, and then being in first entry into Iraq and Afghanistan as a contractor. So it was kind of like following his footsteps. He was originally a corpsman in Vietnam, and the corpsmen I have a close relationship with the Marine Corps. So I went to the Marine Corps, but I didn't go to the Marine Corps based on like, hey, I'm gonna I want to be a Marine. It was a flip of a coin, and it was a coin flip between college, going into the Rangers, and then going in the Marine Corps. And I flipped on like college and the Rangers first, and then it was, Rangers had won that flip, and then it was the Marine Corps versus Army Rangers. and the Marine Corps had won that flip. And yeah, just kind of signed up. It took me a little while to get in just because of prior injuries, and yeah, kind of just went that route.
So when you say the flip, like, was there outside influences where like certain recruiters from the Rangers are being like, well, you could do this, or was the Marine guys, or was this like a personal decision, or maybe your dad had a little influence?
There was absolutely no influence at all. It was simply, hey, what route do you take? And that's how you choose, is flip of a coin.
Gotcha. So Jake is also a Super Cub pilot. See him flying around, dropping guys off, doing his crazy trips. Pretty badass black plane with like an orange arrow. We'll definitely put it up on the screen for you guys to see. Ex-military, Super Cub pilot. Did you learn to fly in the military, or was this something you did afterwards?
No, there's something I did afterwards. So after the military, part of my job in the military was skydiving. I was a reconnaissance Marine and embedded in a force reconnaissance platoon. And part of our job was to jump in these deep reconnaissance missions, by skydiving into these missions with all of our gear and everything like that. And you always enjoyed it, right? The thrill of jumping out of a plane and, body bombing the world. So,
Well, you say you enjoyed it. I'm sure there's plenty of people who
yeah, there's
like
probably
that.
They didn't want some done.
yeah, plenty of people that probably don't enjoy it, but yeah, just that free fall. Of course, a lot of times we jumped in with gear, and that wasn't as fun, right? Because you're just like strapped to, 100 pounds of gears and guns. But just when we would go out and play, I was like, man, this is one of the best feelings in the world, is jumping out of a plane, free floating down to the earth. And after that, I got into paragliding and speed flying, which paragliding, kind of everyone knows, is you thermal around the mountains and just enjoy the view and, get up to altitude based on thermals and wind variations. And then I wanted to put that into speed flying, so I went and learned how to speed fly, and that's just proximity flying down mountains, hike up, and then bail off the mountains and proximity fly that. And then I was like, how do I, get to these backcountry spots, sort of similar like how you would want to get to these, like, remote sheep mountains and stuff like that. And it was a Super Cub, is 100%. Just the other day, I was flying with a buddy, and he said, man, if you really want to know Alaska and know how vast and gnarly it is, and
Yeah.
everything like that, get in the seat of a Super Cub. And yeah, I was lucky enough to meet my instructor, Steve Williams, and he he really introduced me to what a Super Cub can do. And he interviewed me and was like, well, I'm not going to teach you if you want to get into these hunting strips and stuff. And that's respectable. And at the time, I didn't really care about hunting out of a Super Cub or anything like that. And I said, no, I want to paraglide and speed fly on my Cub. I just want to get to these remote areas. And
So initially you wanted to take the plane to get higher to do the speed flying.
Yep. Yeah, it was all about kind of paragliding and speed flying and just aviation in general, being up in the air. Yeah. I mean, you guys all know being in a plane and flying is kind of an incredible thing.
Yeah.
And, that's what it was at first. And he was like, cool. Yeah, I wouldn't have taught you anything if you wanted to just go hunting. And he's like, yeah, I used to hold the a world record in, it wasn't paragliding, but hang gliding. He used to hold a world record of, I think, distance in hang gliding. And
so he thought you were like a young version of him trying to go do badass things.
I think in somewhat of a way, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we just hit it off, and it was, a great friend from there on. And he taught me so much, and still is to this day for sure.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What other stuff are you getting out and doing in that plane?
I mean, after I figured out how much you can do with these planes, hunting and fishing and just exploring in general, you know, guiding people and the animals and, you know, just sightseeing and everything like that. So, yeah, I was like, oh, wow, you can go do that. You can go land on this little sandbar and fish for trout and stuff and, you know, pick up kings where people, you know, don't pick up kings or rainbows or anything like that. That's what I primarily do now is find fishing spots or attempt to find hunting spots. But it's, you know, a lot of work, so I'm still trying to figure it out. And, yeah, so that's what I'm doing now.
Yeah, last summer Jake took me out and we went out and targeted some kings, and I mean we went to a pristine area where there's no one else at, and beautiful sandy beach, and it just felt like what Alaska probably was 100 years ago.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, I've always said that like there's levels to Alaska adventures, whereas like for example you start off in the truck and you're going to go camp at these designated campgrounds, and then maybe you get a four-wheeler and that opens up these trails, you get a raft that opens up that, you get some sort of ocean boat, and then I've always thought like the pinnacle is the Super Cub, like that, like it pretty much opens up the final. It's like when you're going to meet Bowser in Super Mario, it's like the final one, like that's it. Once you get there, you know, you can go do every single other aspect of those other levels. You know, it's just like taking it to the next thing. And for you to like start off going against Bowser, that's amazing.
Ultimate access.
Yeah, Bowser's been a real hardship on my wallet, though. You know,
I bet. Do people name their planes like they do their boats?
I haven't. I mean,
well, I think we got one. I think we got a new name for it.
Yeah, what's that?
Bowser.
Bowser.
Yeah,
That's
Bowser,
it.
yeah.
Oh yeah. I'll have to tell that to ATC. I'm sure they'll appreciate that.
That's funny. Yeah. So, when he was deciding to teach you how to fly, so this is not like a class. This is just someone who's going to show you the ropes, or does he actually have a class, and other people can do this, or he was just kind of taking you under his wing and showing you what's up?
No, so the FAA has a line out of what you actually need to learn and, you know, maneuvers and procedures and everything like that. So you have to learn that, do ground school and a certain amount of flying with an instructor and solo. So Steve runs the school, Acme Cub training, and he was able to bring me through that now. His school is tailored to bush flying. So you're in a front seat of a Cub from day one.
Gotcha.
And that's exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to be in a Super Cub just because, like we said, Bowser.
Yeah.
Right.
So is Acme still a legit business right now?
Yeah, Acme is like probably one of the bigger businesses on Lake Hood now for instruction and maintenance of aircraft. And he also is building the 2021 Alaska Airman Raffle Cub. So he just got that bid, and that's going to be a really sweet Cub. He's been doing it for, I don't know how long now, probably about 40 years, you know, building Cubs and instructing. And so, like, all that knowledge just packed in that hangar, and he's got guys working for him either roughly right around my age all the way up to, you know, his age, and they're all spot on with Cubs and, you know, other aircraft, and it's an awesome place to
now when they learn. Fun fact for people listening and watching, the intro sound of the Super Cub is Bowser on the sound there as soon as the ads get done reading and you hear that. So thinking about when you're learning to fly or people are learning to fly, at Acme, do you decide, or do they say you're going to learn first with the wheels versus like float plane or skis, or is there certain levels so that you always start off with the wheels and then you start off with landing on water, or how does that work?
No, so I think you can actually like gain your private pilot's license specifically on floats or specifically on skis, and then you get signed off on certain like I fly a tail wheel, right? So I learned a tail wheel on wheels, and so that was kind of like what I was signed off with for my privates. Now I think you can do it like a tail wheel on skis and get your private pilot's license like that as well, or on floats. Just you have to get that sign off.
Like a cert, like an extra cert or whatever,
certification,
like you can
yeah.
get certified for this or that.
Yep.
Gotcha. Now, when you say tail wheel, what is that? What does that mean?
So you have like a tricycle gear, which you'd have like in a 172 or a 150 or something like that, where you got the nose fork up front and then the two wheels in the back. And typically they're a lot smaller aircraft. They're a lot more stable and kind of just an airport to airport type of aircraft. Where the tail wheel, you'll see the Super Cubs with the bush wheels on them, and then the tail in the rear. And there's a big difference between them, just based on capabilities, pretty much. Usually a tail wheel is kind of like an older aircraft, and then as technology advanced, they went to these tricycle gears for easier landings and takeoffs and everything. It's just it is a better technology, except for when you are trying to land on this short riverbed. That tail wheel's not gonna be the only one that gets you in there.
Gotcha. So there's certain different tools and different setups for different landings and different things you're gonna do, obviously.
Yeah. I mean, look at the old like kind of commercial planes where you see like a DC-3. At least I think it's a DC-3, where they are like a transportation and they have a tail wheel, versus now the 747s, which are a tricycle gear.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So much bigger plane now, but I think it's because of that technology of the sort of tricycle gear.
Now, when someone goes to Acme to learn, do they teach you on his plane? Do they have training planes? Do they expect you to have a plane? Can you rent a plane to practice? How does that work?
Yeah, so he has instruction planes, but floats, skis, wheels. So he's got all the instruction planes plus complex planes that you can train in, but you can also bring your plane in to train in it as well, and him or one of his instructors will hop in the back after like inspecting the aircraft, and you'll go fly your plane if you want. So like with my plane, if I ask Steve, hey, like take me and let's go learn a little bit of mountain flying, or just teach me something, he could hop in the back of my plane.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
It's probably best to learn on your own plane. I'm sure each plane has different finicky things, or they handle different.
Yeah, it's like, it's kind of like your wife, it's the only one of them. So it's like,
hopefully, yeah.
Yeah.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
And another fun fact, I think, Jake, we're single these days.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, because you don't see much married men with that stash you got going.
No, it really wards them off. It's kind of a bummer. I need to get rid of it.
No, I think you
I
leave
don't
it, and
think
then
so,
when you
man.
get one and they like that, then that's it. That's how you know
that's
it's the one.
Yeah.
Keeper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, ladies, Jake Kueber's on the market with this mean stash. And speaking of promoting you a little bit, what's the Instagram where people can find some of your info and flights and pictures and all these cool things you're doing?
Yeah, at the doo-doo. And I'm basically, flying, posting flying pictures and hunting and fishing and stuff. And just kind of a personal, diary. I think that's kind of what Instagram's opened up for everyone, is a personal diary. Instead of writing it down in a book, now you write it down in pictures.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it.
Sure is, yeah. And it looks like that when you look at his Instagram. It's like, oh, what was he doing today? Oh, flying around, looking at epic stuff.
Yeah, no big deal.
Yeah, just another day. I'm like, oh, that looks nice.
Number one rule is always look cool,
So how'd growing up in Valdez influence, your future and becoming a pilot?
I think it probably influenced, my dad's the biggest influence on all that stuff. But But for flying, Valdez didn't really play a part at all. For hunting, is as you know, Prince William Sound.
Yeah.
It's like you know it's just amazing, right? You know, all the game out there, all the fishing, and just the vast, gnarly landscape of Prince William Sound really was like, this is, you know, the mecca of doing cool stuff for hunting and fishing.
Yeah.
So I always knew I wanted to get back there, and luckily I was able to get back there with you, you know.
Yeah.
And like you said, you're kind of my go-to guy for hunting and fishing, and, you know, so I'm glad we got back there. But as for Valdez, you know, that's kind of it. Grew up on charter boats, being a deckhand. I did that for 8 years from Dutch Harbor when I started as a deckhand at 11 years old, and then did it through junior high into high school. So I spent 2 or 3 years out of Dutch Harbor deckhand, and from 11 to 13, 14, and then moved into Valdez and did the same thing, and on charter boats, which that just unlocks so much as a kid, learning how to fish out in those areas, stuff like that.
Yeah, it's been awesome having a boat with you out there, and growing up on more of the river fisherman. Spending months and months every year, getting lines wet on the banks, and then getting to explore Prince William Sound over the last year has been awesome. All the tips and tricks of finding these fish that you have from all your experiences. A young dude learning on the boat with these captains and spent their life doing it. It's been a lot of fun.
How do you think the river fishing can correlate to the ocean? Like, what do you bring into it?
I felt like I had to start with like a blank palette.
Okay.
Yeah. Maybe there's some stuff with like the directional water flow and going over features, especially like when you're fishing the bottom, with flies, that made a lot of sense. But outside of that, there's the whole, like, where's the nutrition coming from and, what's the water doing? But just learning these species of fish and then how the ocean water movement is different, especially in Alaska in these tidal areas, just so much different than a river. And then like the features on the bottom, you've picked up so many stones or rocks or kicked your way through a hole and lifted up logs in a river. You can't really do that in the ocean. And I don't have scuba gear to do it. Maybe someday that would be dope. We should do that. Get a couple sets. But so I think that part. How about you?
Okay. Like you said, I mean, I actually still don't do that much river fishing. I don't know that much about it. I just kind of toss my line where I think a fish would be sitting, and sometimes I get lucky and sometimes I don't, right? But ocean fishing, like you said, I mean, it kind of is a big river, right, with tides. And then with technology today, you can actually look at structures underneath and really see where the tide's moving and where the fish are going to be sitting. Like, say, seal rocks, right? Tide's moving out. You're going to fish on that the northern side of seal rocks, just because you know that bait's going to be hitting that northern side. If tide's coming in, you're going to fish that opposite side, and then find structure, because that's where those fish sit. So I don't know if river fishing's like that. Obviously, it'd be on a much smaller scale, but
I think there's some comparison there as far as structure and timing. Probably a lot of timing, depths and speeds and stuff like that. But you're right; it's a whole new world to go out to the ocean. I mean, I grew up river fishing with my dad, and we never really went. I mean, I went on a halibut trip with him, and I got the sickest ever, and that was like the end of it for me, till I was an adult. And it's intimidating to go out there on those ocean boats. I've been on obviously several trips deer hunting and halibut fishing now as an adult, and every time I go, I'm just trying to be a sponge and absorb everything that's going on and all the readings that people are doing, and even the simplest thing of learning how to talk on that radio. and what channel it'd be on and all that stuff, and lose all your directions and Garmin and depths and speeds and knots, and like I didn't even know port and starboard, and
Yeah, the basics.
yeah, it's just a whole different lingo that you gotta learn, which is super cool, But if you don't have anyone that ever taught you, I would not suggest it be something that you do without someone showing you the ropes first.
Going out with somebody first, a couple times.
Yeah.
Go on a charter. Yeah.
You guys ever thought about that though? Like, do you think you would take more pride in it without asking someone first? I mean, yeah, obviously there's a safety like margin where you're like, oh yeah, like I wanna be safe about it, but
Well, there's something to that, whereas you will learn more clear when you actually experience it yourself, and you got to figure it out yourself.
yeah,
Versus someone showing you or maybe holding your hand. Like, you got to put yourself in some of these situations where you actually give yourself an opportunity to learn.
I think for me, it was a mix. I mean, I want to go out and learn. I don't want Jake to show me where to fish, you know, but I want him to show me one place to fish. So at the end of the day, I catch fish. And then there's a whole other part. That part of the fun is you kind of like feel like a kid again, because you're learning something new, and it's purely adventure. It's stuff you love and have passion for, the outdoors in any magnitude for me. And then you have all these great resources. Like, we have the Cruising Guide to Prince William Sound on the boat, and we have another copy in our house, and it is amazing. So between, you doing your own research, going to Boat USA and learning the safety stuff, and then reading this book.
What's the book called?
The Cruising Guide to Prince William Sound.
So
Badass book.
What does that entail?
It's basically an inclusive guide to the sound. So I'm going to get the story wrong, but at some point back, I want to say like in the early 80s, you should, bring it up, Jamie.
Yeah. Young Jamie's about to bring it up real quick.
What was it?
Say the title again.
Cruising Guide to Prince William Sound.
I want to say it was like a couple that actually just went all over in the Sound.
Right.
And
they were hired
kept
as
journals.
geologists, I think. And they were hired to go do something out there. And they got a sailboat, and they spent more, a couple years minimum out there sailing around the different areas.
Which one is it here?
It's that one right there.
The first one?
Nope, right below it.
This one?
Nope, below it. That one.
This one here?
Yep.
It's got like the nautical looking.
it does have a ton of good information. I mean, you can almost like, you could be cruising out and be like, where do I want to stay tonight? And you would go straight to that book almost, and they could tell you where, rocks, where they are, in that bay or something. Of course, that's probably changed, since a couple earthquakes ago.
Yeah.
But you definitely get a rough estimate of what's going to happen in that bay or cove.
Gotcha.
And yeah.
Nancy Lethko and Jim Lethko.
Right. So they were
$500.
So that forever there was a period there
That's a lot
that
of
they
info.
didn't publish it.
Okay.
And then which is the Marines off of
Marine Store
over off
on Diamond?
No, when you're headed out of town on Commercial.
Mining and diving?
Yes, thank you.
Mining and
Alaska
diving, yeah.
Mining and Diving now own the rights to the book, and they're republishing it, and you can buy it from them. So when we first got our boat, it wasn't available. So friends gave us the copy.
Oh wow.
And then we made a photocopy of the second one. And then
Well, it looks like they got it up on Amazon. I mean, I would suggest go on down to Alaska Mining and Diving and support the boys down there versus Amazon. I think Amazon has enough money. But that's cool that they... Now, did this couple pass away, or I wonder how that worked?
I don't know the details of that.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yep. Something happened there. They were selling the book for a while after their years in Prince William Sound.
Yeah.
But Prince William Sound's the most northern sound in the world. So, and when they first got there, it had basically been underutilized. And in the book, they predict that it would become what it is today. You know, they're wait 20 more years, or you get some road access to Whittier, and this is going to be the most northern sound playground in the world. And Jake's right. It's such a good guide. And when you go out into these areas, you can kind of anticipate weather, but you never know what's going to happen. You always have contingencies. And so you're going out to Montana, you go, okay, if I'm going over here to this bay is a good anchorage for this type of wind direction, this type of swell. And if it switches on me, what's my backup? And you can go to that book and find something on night that's perfect for the opposite direction, different swells, that sort of thing. And then there's a lot of just learnings they've had. So the best example for me is when you cruise out to Seal Rocks, you pass through a strait there, Hitchinbrook Strait. Hitchinbrook Passage is what it's called. And if you're coming back in to the sound during ebb tide, there's standing hydraulic waves, and they can be huge. In the book, it's right there under Hitchinbrook Passage is do not come back through this passage in an ebb tide, because of this.
Wow, that must have been quite an undertaking for them to write this book.
So much time.
Yeah, it says it's published in 2009. I wonder how long it took them to actually make it.
I don't know how they would do it in 3 years. To be honest, like it must have been. I would feel like it'd be a lifetime out there. Of course, if they're out there every single day, then. But to actually, look at every single bay and cove like they did, man, I would think it would take forever to do that. I couldn't see myself doing that.
Yeah, I agree. And
even if I had all the time in the world.
This is the 5th edition. So they had the original edition. I'm not sure what year that is, but then they've continually updated it. And I know that Alaska Mining and Diving, Nick over there, is coming up with a 6th edition from all the learnings, because now you have so many more people out there.
Gotcha.
Yep.
And I guess one other point about this book is really cool is all the boat safety stuff we're talking about. It's all in there. So they did a really good job introducing people into the marine boating world, and especially Alaska, from the Alaska safety risk perspective in the book.
That's really cool.
That's a great point.
I mean, and for the price, I would assume that it has everything in it.
Yeah, you can get a lot out of it for sure.
Definitely worth it, you'd say.
The price from Alaska Mining and Diving is under $100.
Oh, really?
Yeah, it's not this Amazon price. I think this is like a resale. Yeah.
So definitely go to Alaska Mining and Diving and save $400. Tell them AWP sent you.
That's it.
Now, do you? Obviously, they're different, but do you have like an inclination or a preference of boating versus flying, or are they just two different animals?
Two different mission sets, right? So, like, I don't know if I want to go, hunt sheep. I'm probably not going to be going, out of the boat, and then goats will probably be going in the boat. But as like personal preference, I have an attachment to my plane.
Yeah.
Just because I helped, I did 50% of the build, and basically put a ring on her finger.
Mm-hmm.
It's just it's something you or I helped create, and I don't know. I'm attached to it, I guess.
That's funny not funny, but just odd that you say that you made the build, because I was doing a little research years ago on flights and talking to other pilots that I know, and it seems as if all the planes that are out are old planes. Like, you don't see brand spanking new Super Cubs coming on the market. It's always like 30 years old, 40 years old, and they're just rebuilding them and remaking them. Could you buy a brand new Super Cub if you wanted to?
So you can, pretty much what you can do is you can buy a like wrecked Super Cub, and it has to have like the same serial number, data plate, and everything like that. You need what they call the paperwork to rebuild that plane certified. So there's no more like new certified Super Cubs.
Got it.
So mine's a 1962, PA-18. So I would label my plane as a 1962 PA-18, but it was built in 2019, just because we rebuilt it off of that paperwork. So there is new Super Cubs out there, just they're rebuilt based on old paperwork. And you could do experimental where you get all the pieces together and build it brand new, but it's experimental. It's not certified. You can't use it for commercial uses. You can't, there's certain stipulations that you can only do with experimental that you can't do with a
Is there a certain piece that when you replace that updates the year of the making of it?
No,
It'll say both. Does it say upgraded in 2009 or, as someone would sell a house or something, but originally built in?
Yeah, so that would follow along with the logbooks. So you have like this fat stack of logbooks that had anything that's ever happened to the plane or you've done to the plane needs to go into that logbook.
Gotcha.
In certified aircraft, it's required that you, like, even oil changes go in your logbook. So.
Do they have logbooks for boats, big ocean boats too, or is that simply a plane thing?
Not to the level of rigor.
Gotcha.
It's federally regulated, right? Versus, if vehicles were regulated as much as aircraft is, none of us would own a vehicle pretty much. So it would just be way too expensive and way too crazy.
Got it.
But yeah, for some reason they want to regulate it so tight that it,
Are those public access, or is it just only the owner of the plane gets it, or anybody, FAA can look at it whenever they want, or?
Yeah, so recently I think they've made a lot of it online. So you can pull up based on serial number or tail number. You can get that information. But personally, I hold on to my logbooks, and I'll bring them in to Steve if he needs to do any work on it.
Are they digital or is this written?
Both. Yeah.
Okay.
So nowadays there's both, but
do you have to do both?
I'm not sure if you have to do both. Not sure what the law is on that. I want to say you do have to send in any changes that you have done to your aircraft. But it definitely needs to be in your in-hand logbooks.
So is there like a backup somewhere? Say that you just have these old paper copies and you haven't gone and scanned the old ones. Are those things available if your house burns down? They're not in a fireproof safe?
Yeah, that's what the upload is for. They'll upload it onto. I'm not sure what the platform is, but like when I bought my plane, I was able to look at most of the stuff online. When I bought my plane, the logbooks weren't totally in line. So we got most of the information, but now it's all in there because Steve updated all of it.
Okay.
Nice. I want to just take a minute really quick and give a big shout out to one of our major sponsors, one of our platinum sponsors, Tailored Restoration. Offices in Anchorage, Eagle River, Matsu, and Fairbanks. The Anchorage phone number is 344-1239. Tailored Restoration is your fire damage, water damage, mold damage, any kind of repairs you need to do in your home, emergency services. You can call these guys 24 hours a day. Not only do they do repairs when things go wrong, they also do cleaning. I actually had them come 2 months ago before when my dog was peeing on the carpet. They came and cleaned that up, just like brand new. That's been my personal experiences with them. Have you used Tailored for anything?
Yeah, so my house is a 1954 house, and it had a expansion done, and an addition done in 1985, and Taylor came in and just knocked that expansion out, redid all the old electrical, and they did really good record keeping, which I still have today. Awesome. Turned out great.
Yeah, so anything that you need done in your home, whether it's changing the carpets or any kind of damage or clean or remodel, go ahead and give Tailored Restoration a call at 344-1239 or check out their website at tailoredrestorationalaska.com. Thank you to those guys over there for supporting us and being one of our platinum sponsors. Now, Jake, I was taking a look at your Instagram page, and I noticed that you have what they call a trad bow, and for people that aren't like super nerd bow dudes, that means traditional bow. Why? I guess.
Well, Well, I mean, I guess we could start from where I started with it, which was like my dad has been hardcore traditional bow hunter since well before I was born. So that's kind of where it started for me. He grew up in the Northwest and whitetail elk, and then eventually coming up here and down south where my brother is, just killing animals with a traditional bow. Super successful with a traditional bow, Africa, New Zealand, all over the Americas, and he's what got me into it and my brother into it. And but the real reason for me behind the trad bow was the difficulty,
The challenge.
100%. And I'll say right now, I'm not very good at it. You know, I'm not like Aaron Snyder or Fred Bear or my dad or anyone like that. I just enjoy the challenge and I enjoy the difficulty, and then hopefully one day, you know, I could say, you know, I killed this animal with a traditional bow, and if I don't, hey, that's fine too.
Yeah.
But it's a difficulty thing. It's one of the things that really frustrates me, and like
I bet.
like I'll want to like throw my bow on the ground and like huck it across you know, as far as I can, you know, to the point I'd never want to see it again. But yeah, it's just a difficulty thing, and which is kind of why. And then I don't know if you ever watched like an arrow fly through the air, but it's probably one of the coolest things ever. Like hitting your mark with an arrow has to be one of the most rewarding things, rewarding simple things out there.
Now, are you anti-compound?
No, I am not anti-compound, and I should probably get smart and go to a compound just, you know, based on, you know, how much I can shoot with work and hunting. I should probably go to a compound, and maybe I will one day, but yeah, I'm still kind of stubborn and want to stick to the traditional bow thing.
It makes going hunting with you really fun, though. You know,
Because you get to kill everything.
Oh, this is too long for the trad bow. Let me step in right quick.
Yeah.
it's just a little bit more challenging. I mean, I also hunt with a bow, but a lot of times I'm with you, and I have a rifle just in case. And but no, one little mistake is all it takes. I think you're allowed a little bit more room for error with a rifle, and then with a little less error, but more error than the trad bow when you shoot a compound like I do. But I was just thinking about when we were walking through the high grass on Kodiak and how close we were to deer, and we couldn't get them. Yep.
Oh yeah, and we were very close too. And I botched that shot that I did have on, you know, that deer. And that's one of the things too, is like I can, you know, practicing with a traditional bow, I could do pretty good, and my limit's pretty much 30 yards, which I think is most traditional bow hunters that will say that 30 yards is kind of their comfort zone. And even then, I was probably 18 yards away from that small buck and threw it right in front of his breastplate, and you know, there goes the opportunity to hunt, you know, pretty much.
Just snap this bow.
Yeah.
We actually had another opportunity a couple minutes later, but we probably should have had you in the front instead of me in the front, and basically these deer stepped right on top of us.
Yeah, we pretty much could have just grabbed a hold of their ears and threw them on the ground, but instead I tried to get an arrow out and spooked them.
It was cool being that close to him, though. Yeah, and we didn't make any mistakes until that point, so that was great.
Yeah, that was a luck, but that was a luck stalk, I guess, or a surprise stalk. But as for like if you can imagine like being within 20 yards of like a folklore ram or something like that with a traditional bow that you stalked in on, that's pretty much the ultimate predator thing. And you know, I think if you can do that once in your life, and if you hunted for 30 years and you only did it once with a traditional bow, it'd probably make up for 100 rifle rounds that you put into 100 full curl rounds. I don't mean to put that down on any rifle hunters or anything like that, but that's the
pinnacle.
peak. Yeah, it's the peak. So that's kind of
Jake's just hitting all the pinnacles.
Oh yeah.
I'm trying.
It goes for the top. It goes straight for the top.
It's gonna go to the top and go down from there.
It does not mean I'll succeed.
You just have to show us the lingcod pinnacles. That's what.
Where are those hiding?
Some of those out.
Well, speaking about the traditional archery, I read a book a couple months ago, Summer of the Comanche of the Summer Moon, something like that.
Yeah.
And it goes into real detail on the reason why they were so successful and garnered so much territory is because they would teach their sons when they were tiny to not only ride horses, but to shoot archery from the horse. And they would say that they'd be able to at full sprint on the horse and be able to hit a moving target, 9 out of 10 times, and even leaning on the side. Like they had these tricks where they would like attach their foot or something and lean on the side so that they could shoot the target, but no one could really shoot them because they're like blocked by the horse, and it was just amazing to read that story on how these children would be proficient by the time they're like 12 on this archery, which is obviously everything was traditional back then.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it's come a long way as far as traditional archery. Thinking about that, can you use a traditional arrow vice versa on compound and
nowadays you can.
They've combined the two?
Yeah. So like the arrows that I use, my day 6 arrows I use on my traditional my Black Widow. I can also transition it over to my Hoyt, and it would work just fine. I would probably put a different tip weight on it, just so I get that forward to center weight, either forward or back. With a traditional bow, you want a lot more forward to center weight, just because of penetration, right? So a compound bow will give you an epic amount of penetration, versus a traditional bow doesn't give you that much energy. So
that's
you
based
want that
on
forward.
velocity.
Yeah. I mean, you got 300 and something feet per second versus, high 100s maybe.
Yeah.
So
Now in Alaska, I know Full Curl Archery, those guys over there off of Huffman, I want to say.
Huffman Old Sword.
Huffman Old Sword. They're a big outfit doing archery stuff. Do they do traditional and compound? They pretty much have everything going on over there?
yeah, I want to say they're primarily compound, but I know I've talked to the owner here and there, and he does shoot some like modern traditional, but I don't know how hardcore he is. Like a couple of the guys that make actual traditional bows like Black Widow and Dick Robertson, Yote Robertson, stuff like that are shooting these stick bows that are real traditional. I don't know if those guys do any of that at all.
When you say stick bow, that's like even more traditional?
Yeah, like say like
hand whittled?
Yeah, Dick Robertson, every one of his bows are handmade. I think he does do some laminate bows and stuff like that, but when I say modern traditional, it's like these Hoyt carbon fiber, stuff like that. Like they're still instinctive shooting, but they're all modern.
But the materials.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Like,
okay.
One of my guys that I really follow is Clay Hayes, and he hand whittles all of his bows and is very successful with it too.
What type of wood is there? Obviously, there's got to be a preference
I
there.
want to say Osage is what he uses most of the time, but I don't know.
Yeah.
I think he has a bunch of different woods that he'll use.
Interesting. I wonder if there's any of the trees up here compatible for making that type of bow or what. There's got to be a lot of.
I'm sure somebody's messed around with it before.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So there's not a bow manufacturer up here, someone that's like doing it out of their garage that you know?
Not that I know of.
Yeah, I hadn't heard of anyone either.
And if someone is, hit us up on the email, alaskawildproject@gmail, or in the comments of this video, or let us know if you're doing something like that. We'll definitely put you out there so people that want to maybe get into this kind of stuff, they can reach out to someone who's whittling in their garage or wherever they may be.
But Dave over at Full Curl, he's legit. He knows his game, and he has really good guys that work for them. They're really helpful, and they're really good no matter what skill set you are. If you're just brand new to bow hunting, they can, or just want to shoot archery, they'll set you up nice. They have a really nice used section where people trade in their bows, so you can get good modern gear for affordable price. And then they have a range in there, so I think it's a 20-yard.
Yeah.
Inside?
Yeah.
Yep.
And then they also, Jake and I go over there sometimes and shoot at the screen. So there's a video game that you can shoot at. And
They did get rid of that.
Oh, they did?
Yeah.
Okay. Techno.
Yep.
Well, you were telling me, too, you invited me the other day. You said there's some sort of course at Kincaid?
Yeah. So that's probably my favorite place to shoot is in Kincaid. I mean, Kincaid Park is a beautiful place, and there's not a lot of people around, and they have a big course at up to 80-yard targets. So and anything from, do they have a 10 to 80?
Yeah, 10 to
80. So it's awesome.
So it's like a course, or is it just like you stand here and shoot there? Or are you running through kind of like the Frisbee golf deal?
Yeah. So they have a range with this 10 to 80. And then I think there's 3 separate walkthrough courses.
You can get lost in there.
You can.
There's a lot of shooting to be had. You could spend all day in there. It's awesome.
Well, for someone that wants to check that out, I mean, I go to Kincaid all the time with my kids sledding and whatnot, and I've never even seen that. Where do you turn? Where's the turnoff? Obviously, got to be a way where people are skiing and I can catch an arrow and someone skiing by or fat tiring
Not
by.
next to the track, yeah.
That's part of the targets.
That's it? That's the 20 points?
Yeah. 20 points in a lifetime sentence.
Yeah.
If you cruise in on the main Raspberry entrance, as you're going up that last windy hill, onto the right, so maybe like 300 yards before the chalet, 500 yards, something like that. It's on the right side. That last hill that you're building an elevation on, you go into the right, and there's a little gate there you park at, and then you just walk straight, and then you'll see a little bow range sign on your left side, and you drop down below a hill.
Yeah.
And then down there's the contact information if you want to join the bow club. And then these are regular people going out and setting up these targets and stuff. So I believe it's like $25 a year. We've paid it before to go and shoot the Frisbee golf style walk through. But then it's free to use the regular range.
So anyone can go there on a Saturday and go shoot all day if you want?
Yep.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, and there's always good people down there to talk to and learn their story about shooting.
Yeah.
A lot of actually really efficient hunters or archers that have given me tons of points.
Oh, that's cool.
I had a question for Jake on the practicing on the traditional.
Mm-hmm.
So what's like a range that you will just run 100, just like, what do you?
I'll stay in between, just a couple of yards all the way out to 30. And I will like attempt to hit, 40s and 50s just for fun. But I don't think I would ever hunt at those ranges pretty much ever.
To make a good ethical clean kill, you're thinking 20 to 30 tops.
Yeah, and there's definitely guys that can reach over that. It's definitely the bows are capable of doing those ranges, but I wouldn't reach out past 30, and even 30 yards. It's like, man, if I have the opportunity, I'm gonna try and get closer.
That's crazy. 30 is not far.
No,
I mean, when you think about being live time, crest a hill, there's a sheep or deer or moose sitting there. It's enormous at 30 yards.
Yeah.
With the rifle, you're like zooming your rifle back in, and it's actually a weird shot when they're that close. But with the bow, that's like up close and personal.
But yet easily missable.
Yes.
Which-
yes, it is.
yeah,
It has been done before, for sure.
And my guess is, based on all the fun, high-level stuff you get into, that you've put in the work, the hours, the practice with that bow and conditions and winds, and I'm sure you've played around with that, that, you know, you're ready to make the shot. Like, you're confident you're going to do it. And if you miss, it's clearly that difficult.
Yeah.
Especially after putting in all the work. And
Well, I mean, even with when you guys are like, you know, get buck fever on some of these sheep, even with just a rifle, you know, same thing happens. Even if you're shooting every day with a traditional bow, you get that buck fever, you know, and then you just the human nature, right? You're bound to mess up.
get a little
It's just like
overexcited
human-
or rush it
yeah. Human factor. I mean,
Yep.
they a lot of the teaching methods for traditional archery is you know, step by step by step. You know, the pick your placement, draw, hit your anchor, pull through, release, and follow through. Right. If you even tweak one of those things just by, you know, a minuscule amount, that arrows, they just seem to fly.
So
you
much
know?
room for error.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, the drywall in my basement would agree with you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Yeah, even in a controlled environment like that, right? It's just like, yeah, archery is very difficult, but very rewarding.
Yeah.
And very therapeutic. I find it, you get into this spot in your mind where that's all that exists, and I find it is helpful to me as like meditation. It's really nice.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, you almost get like a somewhat of a little high off of shooting and hitting your mark. I wouldn't know how to explain it. What could you like relate it to?
For me, I grew up playing baseball. It's like pitching for me.
Oh, it's like catching a perfect pitch? Throwing a perfect pitch?
Yeah, hit your spot.
Yeah. So that, I don't know, it's always just, I've made that connection in my mind. But I bet everyone has something, especially with the instinct part of the traditional side of.
So let me ask you, bow hunters, your opinion on the movie Brave.
I want to say a lot of archers are really really think they did a pretty good job at Brave. Like as for like form and everything like that. I've watched a couple of videos on people breaking down the movie Brave based on archery, and they were actually.
Oh, like one of those like Ranella breakdown movie things.
Yep.
Did he do one on Brave?
I think he did. Yeah.
Oh, we'll have to check that out.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, I've heard the same thing just on different podcasts and stuff that.
Yeah.
Just kind of secondhand, but just looking at what she's doing, I mean, she seems to have it. I mean, there's a little bit of wild stuff when they're running on the horses and all that.
Yeah.
But I mean, the better part for me is, you know, I'm raising 2 kids in Alaska and we want to do awesome stuff. And I'm all for whatever, you know, Disney movie they want to watch. But whenever they watch, you know, Merida's Brave, we're pretty excited, and the kids are excited about shooting bows, you know. So we have like the little, I think it's for 6-year-olds, but my 4-year-olds use it one at a time with the parent.
You got like a little kid bow?
Yeah,
they can play
that
with?
little suction cup. So after that movie, they always want to go shoot bows, and so just getting them excited about something cool. And even if they don't hunt with it, it'd be a fun activity to do as a father.
Yeah.
Well, kind of like when we used to watch ninja movies, and then we were ninjas when we were kids.
Oh, yeah. Ninja Turtles.
Yeah.
You get a chance too, like at age 4, like they're starting to learn some of these hunter safety stuff. Okay, we can't load this until your brother gets behind this line, and we don't, you know, hold the weapon a different way. We have to concentrate what we're doing, and so I find it really helpful.
Kind of like subliminal learning there, of some sort.
They are 4.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine as they get older and they have to actually, you know, they start understanding the mark they have to, the hit, and then the focus that they have to put into it. It probably helped me out in some sort of way, you know,
Yeah, definitely.
being a child.
Take one more minute to throw a shout out to our sponsors. One big one is Treehouse, AK, boys off of Boniface. They got the highest quality cannabis products and CBD you can find. Once again, they're over east side off of Boniface. Go check them out.
Yeah, I found that bringing that CBD, I've been doing it the last couple of years on these hunts and stuff like that. When you're just pounding away on these sheep hunts, and I don't really like taking Advil or Aleve or any of this other stuff, and they sell like these little like caplets of CBD that just like naturally helps. You're not getting high or anything like that. It just naturally helps with my knee and the swelling that happens there. So go check those guys out. They're bud tenders. They're very knowledgeable on everything they got there, and let them know that we sent you, and you get a 10% off over there at the Treehouse AK, 341 Boniface Parkway. You must be 21 years and older to go in that store, so keep that in mind.
I've heard pretty good things about the reducing inflammation through CBD. I've never tried it, just because of drug testing for the job, which I don't think CBD would put you in that position. But
well, it seems like a lot of companies now are not testing for that as much, knowing that people are taking that for actual health reasons and medical purposes.
Yep.
And another cool thing that I found, I mean, unfortunately, we had to put our dog down a few months ago, but she was an old lady, old Weimaraner, 14 years old, and she got kicked by a moose. There was a moose that came into our backyard, and my wife was letting the dog out in the morning, and she's screaming, and I would jump up thinking there's an intruder or something, and the dog got kicked by the moose, just doing her thing, barking at the moose, and so we had to take her to the vet, and the vet actually recommended that. They're like, go down to one of these stores, and go ask for the pet CBD. And I think they recommended the one by the dog sled musher, Lance Mackey, I want to say. He has his own CBD thing, and you buy a bottle of it, and it was spendy. It was about $100, but it lasted 4 to 6 months. You give them a couple of drops, and they love it. There's like fish oil in there, and you just put it in her water, and she would know when you're like unscrewing that cap on that thing. She just comes over and just ready to like lick it off your hand, and it really, really helped. Really, really helped. Like we pretty much extended her life. I'd say another 7 months because of that.
Gave her some comfort. Yeah.
Yeah. Able to sleep. She wasn't eating and stuff like that, and we gave her some of that, and literally the next day was like she was a puppy again. It was really, really cool to see that.
Really helped her out.
Yeah.
yeah, I've seen my buddy's black lab go through the same thing, really bad arthritis, and just being out of the lake and being a lab, they want to run as hard as they can and swim as much as they can, and she would get off the couch after the end of the week and barely be able to walk through the living room, and they started giving her CBD and whatever else can reduce inflammation, and again, like a puppy again.
Yeah, it really works.
I'm sold on bringing Brooks Ranger down. She can pick out her own.
They have a ton. Yeah. Go check it out.
And for her, that's like preventative maintenance because she's getting a little older. Yeah. So you can start introducing it now and helping her with that, and that'll most likely just
nip it before
run it out a little longer.
Yeah. Yeah. So Jake, is there any crazy stories or hairball things? I mean, flying in that Super Cub, you always hear of things happening and people get stranded. What's something that what do you keep in the plane in case you're on this beach and you're catching these trout and the weather comes in and you decide you need to stay the night? Or what's the preparation or what's the survival gear that you're keeping in there?
Yeah, I pretty much have what you would bring on a lightweight hunt at all times. And then maybe a tarp and a tent and stuff like that, a nice tent where you can actually be comfortable. But what you would bring on a sheep hunt, I have in the plane at almost all times, and that just is my survival gear. Bear mace and maybe a pistol and stuff.
Have you ever had to stay the night somewhere unintentionally?
No, I have not yet. And that's just proper planning on the front end. You know, I know when I'm gonna be able to make it home for the most part. You know, 90% of the time.
Yeah.
And if you do see that coming in, you're out of there, right? So
Gotcha. You're always keeping your eye in the sky there.
yeah, you're always checking. You're always in contact with the inReach. I could, you know, text Jack and he'll give me a layout of, you know, weather. I could text Steve and he'll be like, oh, you're going to be on the deck, but you're going to make it through type of thing.
Yeah.
So, yeah, technology has really helped us pilots for sure. And there's FAA webcams. I'm not sure if have you guys ever looked at the FAA webcams?
I haven't. You have?
Yeah, just Jake showed them to me when we got the boat.
Yeah.
So that's like cameras set up all over the state?
all over the state, yeah.
Showing weather or actually showing visual?
Visual and weather, yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
See the cloud height and
Yeah. If you ever are heading to a certain area, say you're hauling ass up to Toke or something to, you know, go hunt or whatever, check out those webcams and see what the weather's like, that sort of stuff. So yeah, I mean, technology's really helped us pilots out in that sort of case, but and then that inReach has helped out a ton too, to where it would probably be pretty hard for you to get in an accident or get stuck somewhere and not be within like 1 or 2 days of someone getting to you.
Yeah.
Whether it be, you know, a helicopter or another Super Cub or someone 4-wheelers or snow machines in, right? You have that ability to get a hold of someone.
Yeah.
That's kind of the beauty of, you know, the Garmin inReach and radios and, you know, cell phone service pretty much almost everywhere.
Yeah.
I mean,
Unfortunately.
Unfortunately, fortunately, but
cool when you're
unfortunately,
posting
right?
to your story.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. Got service here? Oh,
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like on that bison hunt, 2 days ago, those guys had service the whole time. So we, as pilots, we were just like, update us every hour on the weather, what's happening there. And we're a 2.5-hour flight from them. And they were posting every hour, and we're, you know, blasting off out of Anchorage. Okay, weather's still good over there.
Mm-hmm.
Let's go. And then an hour later, like, weather's still good. Okay, we're continuing on.
Yeah.
You know?
So you're checking the weather where you're taking off from, but also the whole way there and where you're landing, because being in Alaska, it's so vast. There's different weather patterns here that could be a storm going on over there.
Yeah, it could, you know, and then it changes, you know, every 30 minutes, hour, you know, winds come out of nowhere. It happens. We've all been stuck in that situation.
Yeah. What's the statement? If you don't like the weather in Alaska, just wait.
just wait.
Wait 5 minutes.
15 minutes will
Yeah.
change.
Yeah.
Speaking about, I do want to touch on that bison hunt that you said you just went on and brought us. Oh my God, that bison tenderloin you brought that you guys hit on the Traeger. Wow. I would say probably my top two right now, maybe even one. That what I just ate right there was amazing. Not gamey at all, even though I don't mind gaminess. That was just amazing.
Exquisite, dude. It was fresh. It was fresh. It was the temperature, the meat, color, the flavors, the seasoning, and most importantly, we were talking about no game flavor. Like, it wasn't beef, so you could say, okay, if you were taste testing it blind, you'd be like, this isn't beef, it's something else.
Yeah.
But just danced on your taste buds, right? It was so good.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to put
clean.
on the video version of this. And for those of you that may be listening in audio, we do have a video version that's out on YouTube, and we'll show like specifics and pictures of the bison and your plane and the trad bow and all these things we're talking about. So go ahead and take a look at that if you're just doing the audio version here. But speaking about the bison hunt, and you said it was how many miles from Anchorage to where you guys were going about?
Oh, man, I'd have to map it out again. I can do that real quick.
What an average? We're not going to give away the spots or anything.
Oh, I actually...
Here, while he's looking up that, we'll talk about the tenderloin. So, Jake brought this tenderloin over to me this morning, and we got to spend the afternoon kicking it with my kids and teach them how to cook a little bit. But so we just made sure that thing hit room temperature. We cleaned it up a little bit. Then we put a mustard, like a spicy mustard Dijon on the outside that we had mixed with a little bit of bourbon and some minced garlic. And we let that dry on it for about 15 minutes. And then we got the Traeger going to 180 on smoke. And then we smoked it for an hour. Then we pulled the bad boy off, brought it in the kitchen, and then got the Traeger going to full heat, about 450. And then at that point, we decided to do two different styles. So we cut it in half, and then on one side we just hit it with Montreal, and the
Go-to.
Yeah. And the other side, we did a mix of what I really like is this chili lime from Trader Joe's.
Hold on a second. That tenderloin you brought was cut in half?
Yeah.
Like thick-wise?
No, lengthwise.
Oh, okay. I was about to say that thing was massive. I mean, it is massive.
Yeah.
But
Wide.
okay.
Yeah, it was about as round as a baseball bat, right?
Yeah.
It was a big tenderloin. And it was probably 18 inches long.
Like a beef, right?
Maybe longer than that.
About as big as a beef tenderloin?
Oh, yeah, about that. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe a little bit over 20 inches. So then we cut it in half, and then the other side we hit with this chili lime from Trader Joe's, and then just Brazilian steak seasoning, and then we threw it on the Traeger on the 450 for 20 minutes and got it to like 132, 133. We were shooting for a little lower, but thing heated up fast. Then let it rest for 10 minutes, brought it in, and enjoy.
That was so good.
It was so good.
And we'll put a picture up and make everyone jealous about it. But, oh, man, that was amazing. And that's one of those things, like, if you don't know someone that's, I mean, everyone's putting in for the bison hunt every year. I think I've donated, thousands of dollars trying to get a bison hunt.
Yeah.
Someday.
Yeah, hopefully one day. And there's only a couple options. And you don't get the opportunity to taste that meat, unless you know someone that's on it. And a lot of times they're willing to share because it's just so much meat.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was really cool. Did you find the distances?
Yeah, so in a straight line, it was right around 150 miles. So we had to kind of go around the Chugiak and everything like that, and up through Sheep Mountain and over through Eureka and everything like that. So I want to say it was probably closer to like 160, 170 miles each way. And then the portage from the lake where their vehicle was to the lake that we scouted out these bisons from, where it was probably only like, 10 miles, something like that.
Yeah.
But
that's quite a ways. What's the range of the plane total? I mean, how many gallons can you put in there?
you could put, in my plane, you could put 36 in Cole's plane. So there was two Cubs on this hunt. Cole Hagee, I ended up messaging him when I got in contact with these guys to, try and do the hunter transport for him and find these bison for him. And he could put in a lot more fuel. He could put in 60 gallons where I could put in 36 gallons. So we had to bring a bunch of extra fuel. They drove up with extra fuel.
That was my next question. You bring the fuel. There's not obviously like spots. Could you pull into Talkeetna and fill up if you needed to, or that doesn't work like that? You can't.
No, you could, yeah. You just have to go to some main hub that actually has like a pay for fuel type of situation. But anyways, I guess starting from the beginning, my buddy Joe Barkley, he messaged me while I was up at work, and he said, "Hey man, got a buddy that drew this tag. Could you help him out? Bringing him in with the cub." And it sounds like, they can't get to where they're trying to go, on snow machines or four-wheelers or anything like that. I was like, yeah, well, all based on weather and me talking to him, see what this guy's like, I'll do it. And kind of realize the burden that would have been put on myself to bring these guys in solo. So I called up Cole, and he was 100% willing and ready to go. and his cub. So we figured it all out. Started talking to Landon, who is the hunter, and then Austin from Mission, Alaska.
Mancalic? Austin
Yeah,
Is that his name?
it's something like that.
Yeah.
I don't know his last name, but I think you're somewhere around there.
Sorry if I butchered it, Austin.
Yeah.
I got a bad last name too.
Yeah, super cool dudes. But ended up contacting them. They were like, "Hey, this is what we want to do." I was like, "All right, well, this is how it's going to be done with the Cubs," and they agreed to it. So Cole and I ended up departing this last Thursday, and they departed behind us in a vehicle. So we haul up there, and it was 2.25 hours or something like that before we got up there. We were searching around a little bit. We had just gotten into the area that, the block where they could hunt pretty much just like any of these other draw tags. And we knew the area that we wanted to go to look for them. And I was just flying along. We were both going in the same direction to go to that area. And I was like, you know what? I'm gonna break off. You keep on going that direction, see what you see, and I'm gonna go up this drainage. Just it looks good, And so I start creeping up this drainage and looking at creeks and stuff where I originally thought they would be down in these creek beds. These bison would be down in these creek beds where it's kind of easier moving. They have water. There's probably pretty good food supply down there. And I'm not seeing any. And, well, within like 5 minutes of me breaking off from Cole, I start seeing tracks. I'm like, all right, well, this is promising. And up ahead of me, I could see where they're at. Like, they're in this opening area, and pretty soon I get up there, and it's just like looking at black specks on a white lake, right?
Yeah.
And it's just like looking at a moose. Like, it's there. Once you see it, it's like, dang, there's a moose, And, well, there was a group of them, and so I was like, well, there's the group, right? They're in a great spot. And I fly over them. I kind of do a lap, and I didn't want to bother them too much. But they didn't even flinch. Like, they just kind of hung out.
How many would you say were there?
There was 8 there.
Okay.
That I could see.
Yeah.
I don't know how many total were there, but 8 that I could see, just by looking within the, 3 to 5 minutes that I actually spent over them. And, they would, kind of turn their head, look at me, and just go back to, like, feeding or laying down or whatever. Yeah. And so I start searching around. I was like, well, I can, land on this lake, not very far away from them. So I call up Cole. I was like, hey, found them. Like, let's get you over here and see what you think. And so he finds me another couple of minutes later, and I'm like, I'm going to set down on this lake, see wind direction and see if it's too tight, everything you do to judge a landing spot in a Super Cub, it all has to do with getting out of there. There's tons of us that can pretty much land in really gnarly short areas, but getting out of there with weight is that's really the limiting factor on Super Cubs. So we get in there, I land, and I just do a go around, and then he comes through and he lands, and he's like, yeah, it looks totally good. I land. And so we hang out there for a while, and finally those guys text us like an hour later, and because we thought we would be flying around for much longer. I mean, once we got into the area, we found those bison within 10 minutes. And so we hung out on that lake, just, kind of chilling out or whatever. And then we jumped over to where their vehicle was on another lake and picked them up. Hey, we got bison. We got you in a good area. We got you 1.34 miles from where the bison are. And then that terrain. I mean, 1.125 miles it's flat. Like it's lake to lake.
Okay.
You walk through a slough type of thing.
Oh, wow.
It's like simple, easy, the best setup for a bison. You just won the lottery type of thing. So they're stoked, and we head over there and grab all their gear, and we were able to get all their gear in them in one load, luckily. And we blast off out of that lake, set them right down, and get all their gear out, load all of the rest of our fuel that we had dropped off originally at that lake, because we knew we were just going to bail out from there, and filled up and, shook hands and got out of there. But the next morning it was like, I want to say it was like 11 o'clock. I was like, man, those bisons, I hope they didn't move on, and because we weren't hearing anything, and I figured they would have already been on them at that point. And like 11:30 noon rolled around, bison down, so it was like a total of like 4 hours of hunting that these guys had to do, which is great.
Yeah.
But we were like, okay, sweet, can't come get you today. It's too late in the day. We'll try tomorrow. And so they're like, sending us videos, pictures, and everything. We're all stoked for them. And the next day, Saturday, so we get them in there Thursday. They had to wait overnight for, standard regulations. Can't hunt same day, fly in. And they popped one within 4 hours. And the next day, we get out of Anchorage. It's snowing in Anchorage, and we just kind of had to dodge some weather. And as soon as you hit like where Palmer goes into hitting a pass, it just like bluebird the rest of the way, and we just bail out. Man, we see sheep. We're like seeing all sorts of game. We think we're seeing wolves. We're seeing lynx, ptarmigan, like all the way out there. And we're having a blast just flying around. Finally get out there, we pick up those guys, and we want to get them back to the truck so they can unload gear at the truck where we can load meat at where the bison was.
Got it.
We get them out with half their gear, get them to their truck, and then we bail out to get that meat. And so we're light, and we're looking at this kill, and I'm like, holy shit, we have to carry this bison, further to our planes than these guys did need to, like on this trip. And so they got hooked up with that, but they had the meat all set out for us. They had it quartered, and then other bags full of rib meat and tenderloin, backstrap, all that jazz, and that big bison skull, which was like super epic to just like look at.
That's massive. And I'll put that picture up on the that took up like your whole Super Cub, the back there, pretty much a passenger seat took up the entire thing.
So getting that thing, and it was a full rug too, so they
rolled it up.
Yep.
Got it.
So I want to say that rug was man, it had to have been like 250 pounds, just the skull and the rug.
Yeah, the full rug. They're gonna do a full mount, or you don't know?
I think he's just what he called like a love rug.
Got it.
Like
say no more.
And I think he's gonna do a shoulder mount too.
Nice.
I think I asked him if he was gonna do a shoulder mount. He was like, man, I don't know. I was like, man, I don't think you'd regret it. Because this is probably one opportunity you're going to get at a bison. I don't know, depends on what you are. I do like the European mount more than a shoulder mount, but I think it'd be cool to have a bison just because they're afro. Like, I don't know if you ever seen a winter bison, but it's like,
yeah, they got like a muffin top.
Yeah, it's
thing going on. Yeah,
Afro's a good way to put it. That explained it right there.
It was like an afro, and like you could like pat it down. It's like just, I don't know, it's weird, but super cool. Anyways, we get all the meat out in 2 runs. So we had done the run with them and their gear to their vehicle, and then 2 runs of meat, and then the head and the cape. And I was actually pretty surprised at, like, I thought there was going to be like 4 trips of meat. And there really wasn't. And they had like boned that thing out. Like there wasn't a shred of meat on it.
Yeah,
all.
obviously you debone those.
Yeah.
What it compared to like a moose, like a big
Almost exactly, except for everything was shorter.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
About the same weight though.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And plus they're in the middle of winter too, so they're a little thinner than what I think they would be in the summer. But they had no fat on them either, which is kind of crazy for being in the winter. But it is a spring, so they probably eliminated a lot of that fat.
And that was a mature bull, too?
That was a mature bull. And what Austin said is that he thought he could kind of judge it like how you judge a sheep with rings.
Oh.
And he thought it was 7 years old, 7 to 8 years old. And that's just what I heard from him. I don't know if that's how you actually judge bison. I would assume like the best way to be judge them is teeth.
Yeah, that's how the Fish and Game are going to do it. So
Yep.
send them a picture,
Yep.
the lower jaw,
Mm-hmm.
teeth, and they count them, or not sure the whole.
Oh, you send
Process.
the picture? You don't actually have to bring it in?
Yeah, well, my coworker's husband got one a few weeks back, and I was doing the Euro for that, and they hadn't yet got the picture of the lower jaw because it was like rigor mortis up. They couldn't get it pried open. Well, when I thawed it out and chopped it all off, I was able to pry it open, got photos of the teeth, and then I cut the jaw out and then took more pictures. So I don't know exactly how they age them specific, but there's something about the teeth count or size or something
Same
like
way they
that,
do on
but
deer. I think it's like wear and count. And,
number of different things.
yeah.
Speaking of you doing that, just so people want to see the process of doing the Euro, which means you don't have the eyes or the fur or the cape. It's just like the white skull and then the horns or the antler. That's what European mount means. Brandon with his heads up doing the Euro on that. I'm assuming there'll be a timeline of pictures or things as you process that bison head.
Well, unfortunately, the hide removal part, I didn't get the footage that I was hoping to. Sat in the garage for an extra couple of days longer than it was supposed to, and it started to really get stinky. So wife and kids were coming home one night and went through there, and my oldest almost puked. So I was like, I should probably do something about that. Well, I set up the camera and the whole nine and got it all lined out. Well, kind of had to wrestle this thing on the ground. So it's a bison head. You know, it's
Massive.
It's huge. It's huge. It's like 4 or 5 gallon gas cans together, you know, to give you some perspective on like how big it is. And I'm setting up the camera and I'm fighting with this thing and rolling around, and it didn't look that great. So I ended up botching the filming of the hide removal, but I'm going to go and do the rest of the cleaning and the initial boil and the other stuff. So some of that fun stuff will be left out, but I was thinking I could just throw it up on my table and I could just do this thing, and it was just way too big and awkward and unbelievably gross and stinky. But I was kind of hoping your dude might want to do a Euro. I was gonna throw out a pitch, but
I'll talk to him. I'm gonna see him Wednesday, and if he decides to do a Euro, I'll send him your way.
yeah, please do.
Well, tell him you
'cause
do
I'd
the
love
mean
to.
love rug.
Well, yeah, love rug.
Not
now.
yet. You gotta.
We're working up to that.
So we can follow your stuff on Brando AWP.
You can, yeah. I'm kind of just getting started with it. I spent the last 2 years just practicing with other, my own bears and deer and moose and
And this one right here.
caribou. Yeah,
Yeah. This
the ram
is
on the wall.
this is a ram that we found on our Brooks Range hunt last year.
Deadhead.
Deadhead that we
Yeah.
found, and you brought it in and restored it up. And
Yep. The antlers are actually off the skull. So brought it in, cleaned it, glued it all back together.
yeah, and we got that hunt up
Aviation.
on the YouTube page, Alaska Wild Project. That hunt is up there, and you can see when we find that deadhead and how it looked and all that.
Yeah, the Euro look, what Jake was saying, he likes the Euro. I think, I'm on board with that. It's just such more of an artistic,
Yeah, a little
kind
more.
of a fossil type.
rustic type.
Depiction of the animal versus nothing against shoulder mounts and the artistic side of a taxidermist making an eyeball and teeth and just all that really cool stuff. That's great. Maybe I'll work up to that one day, but the Euro mount's just a beautiful, simple, and you don't have to necessarily put a backing board on it. You can get a nice mount and get it on there right up against a beautiful wall in your home, and
Looks clean.
you can put it on a perched up post on a table or different options. So
Who do you like to use for the mounts like that?
I'm a big fan of head hangers. Very simple. You can check them out online. They're just a real quality built steel, kind of 45-degree angled deal, and they come in different variations where you can. This is like their #1 seller. Kind of holds most medium to small game sized. But they got these other ones that are built a little more heavy duty with longer shafts that protrude out and then help push the animal away from the wall. So if you got big curling horns that curl back, or a moose that pushes way back, or a ram even that is narrower and his horns go way back, it won't push against the wall real bad. So, but yeah, head hangers are a great product.
Yeah, it's
huge fan of those.
Looks super clean.
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for noticing.
Yeah. Well, we run into about an hour and a half here pretty quickly. Any other questions for Jake or any comments? Anything else you want to add, Jake?
No, I just appreciate you guys having me on. It's kind of fun to have a conversation about hunting and, my side of thinking about it, I guess.
Yeah.
Even in the moment, it's kind of like you think of new things that you're, whether it be flying or hunting,
Yeah. Really appreciate you coming out.
Yeah.
A lot of info on the Super Cub life and the Trad Bull life and history on you and your Alaska adventures. On Instagram at the Doo. I want to say it's D00.
Yeah. I believe
D00.
so.
Okay. What does that mean?
Man, long story. Can't tell it.
All right. Well, sounds like we got to bring Jake back on.
Yeah.
For the
round two.
doo-doo story and more Bowser tales.
That's it.
But I hope I have a bunch more by the time I come back.
Sure you will.
Oh, we will.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Jake Kueber, thank you. Appreciate it. Guys, leave us a review on the Apple and the Spotify and a like on the YouTube video and leave a comment. Email us. We appreciate that. And check out some of these sponsors we got, these cool Alaskan companies that are supporting us. Help us by supporting them. We really appreciate that. And thanks again, Jake.
Yeah, appreciate it, guys.
Thanks, Jake.
Yeah, thank you, Jake.
You remember my speaking to you of what I call your overcautiousness. Are you not overcautious when you assume that you cannot do what the enemy is constantly doing?
Total Truck Accessory Center. Go check them out at 7700 Homer Drive. They're your one-stop shop for canopies, spray-in bed liners, LED light bars, and more. Total Truck.
TheTreehouseAK.com. Located at 341 Boniface Parkway. They're your all-in-one cannabis and CBD store. Ask the bartender today what the strain of the day is to get your 10% off.
Lawn Pro AK, your year-round professional property maintenance. Cutting lawns, but not cutting quality. Hit them up at lawnproak.com.
Double Shovel Cider Company, located off of Arctic and 58th. Handcrafted, Alaskan-made cider. They also got a tap room downtown on the corner of 5th and E. Check them out, doubleshovelcider.com.
Anchortown Dogs, located across from the 4th Avenue Theater in front of the historical building. Look for the blue and gold umbrella. Get yourself a legit reindeer dog.
Tailored Restoration, helping Alaskans restore their dreams. Voted #1 in the state since 1972. Water restoration, fire restoration, remodeling, cleaning, anything that you have to do with your home, inside and outside, give those guys a call or check out tailoredrestoration.com.